Have you ever just wanted to like run away, to like just pick up everything and just go anywhere? I remember when I was young and I would watch these like I'd watch these like movies where you'd see these hitchhikers and they'd have these signs and there would be no actual destination. All it would say is anywhere but here. Hey you guys, my name is Christabel, the original Power Ranger princess, but on this channel I'm Princess Power Ranger. Happy October! I know the world feels like it's falling apart, and I feel like now more than ever, um, I sometimes feel like I just want to pack things up and go. But I wanted to do a quick story time. So many years ago, back when I was like 16, 15, turning 16. The year was 2005, and I lived in a small town in South Africa called King Williamstown. Growing up, I hated living in King Williamstown. It was one of those towns that were, I wouldn't really say conservative, but given the time period, and especially compared to today, it was definitely conservative. Um, you didn't see anyone who was LGBT. It was very much hush hush and secret. Um, Everyone seemed to have a place that they fit in, and I just always felt like I did not fit in. Not within my own family, not within the actual town. And I remember, like, I was the kid who lived in a small town that knew the places off maps but had never been to them. And I so desperately just wanted to get out. Never mind, I was also like being bullied at school. So in 2005, there was this kind of like youth show. I want to say it was similar to TRL, but more for tweens, if that makes sense. So South Africa's own version of TRL. It was called YOTV, and they were auditioning for presenters. Now, for the first time, they were actually doing like a cattle call where it was sort of this like broad audition for anyone who was in any of the main cities they were going to. Kind of like American Idol style. And I remember being like, this is my ticket out of here. This is my ticket out of this buttfuck town. If I can just go to the dang on auditions in Cape Town, I know like I'll get in, I'll start working as a presenter, I'll move to like Johannesburg, and I'll be away from the nightmare that was my so-called life at 15. So I remember what I did. I sold all of my CDs trying to save up money so I could get a bus ticket to come down to Cape Town. The plan was that I was going to stay with my aunt, audition, and then come back to school. Now, I asked my mom if it'd be okay if I could go to the auditions. And surprisingly, she said yes, as long as the school lets you go. Like, if you're going to take a week off, then as long as the school lets you go. And looking back, I'm kind of like, Mama, now you know damn well my attendance ain't been shite since I've been up at that school. I stay bunking, but I wanted it and I was like, this is my way out. So I went to the principal. I spoke to him and I was like, listen, there was this audition and I really want to go. And they let me go. They just let me go. Y'all. Anyways, So I get on the bus. I'm excited. I get to Cape Town. Now, back in 2005, remember, so I'm a millennial. I was born in 89. We were the generation that we moved from like analog, meaning having like a telephone with a telephone cord and internet that you had to like plug into your computer, to having like cell phones and like internet accessible. Now, when I was 15, 16, I didn't have internet access, so I missed the auditions. I got to Cape Town, went to SABC, the South African Broadcasting Network thing. I went there to find out about the auditions, and I found out I'd arrived on the Monday. The auditions were on the Friday and Saturday. I just missed them. And I just remember like sitting in that chair and finding out that the next auditions were in Durban. Now, I'm someone that has a lot of tenacity. I refuse to hear the word no. Anyone else would have like packed it up and been like, listen, you missed it, it's okay, you can try again next year. I phoned my mom, and that was exactly what she said. She was like, no, it's cool, just I'll get you a bus, and yeah, you can just come back to King Williamstown. Oh no, I had told everyone that I was auditioning. I was like, deuces, I'm out, y'all, and I'm gonna be like rich and famous and this, that, and the other. Oh, to be young. So I get on the bus, and this bus was going to King Williamstown, but it was also going to drive all the way up into the next province. The last destination was actually Durban, where the next auditions were. Now, Durban is a whole nother province, and a lot of people underestimate how huge effing South Africa is. It takes like a day and a half just to go to Durban by bus. 2 days? No, like a day and a half. But Durban's hella far. I mean, I didn't know anyone there. I had never been to Durban, but I was like, F it, I'm going, I'm going, I'm going, I'm going. Get on the bus, and I don't get off at my stop. But in the next city, the city over, the people on the bus noticed, listen, there was somebody who was supposed to get off and they haven't gotten off. And they find me. I was actually sitting next to this Korean guy who we started talking, and he was super friendly. And I asked him if I could use his ticket. So, like, we broke the ticket in half, and I held half of the ticket so that if any of the attendants came and asked, I'd be like, oh, this is my ticket. Now, you know damn well they kicked my black ass off that bus. Now, at this point, logically, okay, give up. It's okay. Just go back to King Williamstown. You're only about an hour and a half away from King. Go back to King. Not me. Not me. No, no, no. Girl, tell me why I start asking all the other bus drivers, because we had gotten off at the bus station. I ask all the other bus drivers if they can take me to Durban. I explain my situation. And lo and behold, these two guys like believe in my like spirit. I'm like, where was a responsible adult in this entire story? I could have been trafficked. Get on the bus, and we're off to Durban. Mind you, I don't know anyone there. I have like no money. I'm like this kid off to another city. I could be about to get trafficked, but get to Durban, and I get off the bus and I went to this like radio station. The radio station was connected to SABC, the South African Broadcasting Company. And I thought, if I meet somebody at SABC, they will be able to direct me as to where to go next. Girl, I must have been making a nuisance of myself because they kicked me out of that doggone building. And now I'm like out in Durban with like my bags. I only had like one backpack that had some of my clothes. Thank God I was a light traveler back then. And I'm walking around and I decided, okay, this is how I'm going to center myself. I could see the Hilton Hotel and it was the biggest building in the city center and it kind of stood out. So I was like, I'm going to orient myself around the Hilton. And I was influenced by Paris Hilton. It was 2005. So I was like just gonna walk around and try and find someone who could let me crash for a couple of days. And then I'd go to the auditions, they'd pick me, I'd become a celebrity, and it would be worth it, right? Wrong. Now, no one was about to let some like stranded homeless kid come crash with them. And after asking a couple of people and walking around and also exploring Durban. Durban is so pretty. I mean, I was stressed, but I made sure that I at least saw the city. Um Eventually at about 6, I went to the social workers and I got put into a place of safety. Because I was under the age of 18, I was technically a ward of the state. And look, I was honestly, I was grateful that I went to that place of safety. It's called Valley View. I'm not sure if they're even opened. That was like literally 20 years ago. Literally 20 years ago. But yeah, like it was, the kids there were, listen, this is before transition, so I went to a boys' place of safety. But the kids there were, some of them were like rough. Like you could tell, like they came out of some stuff. There was this one guy who was like, I'm pretty sure he's in prison now, but he was like scary, even just his face, and he was like a kid. You could not control them kids. And there was this one guy, this Indian South African guy that I also became friends with, and gosh, I didn't belong there because I think in some ways maybe I did. In some ways maybe I did. I wanted to leave King Williamstown. I wasn't happy. And I was so desperately trying to find a way out. And even though, like I had my family back home and we lived in this big, beautiful house, there was no love there. And every day living there felt, I don't know, I don't want to say it felt like hell. That would be an exaggeration, but it felt like bits of my soul were being chipped away. And I just couldn't stand to be there. So, believe it or not, I enjoyed the place of safety. Now they contacted my mom and they let her know we let her know where I was and what was going on and how I would get back home. Obviously, I had to talk to social workers. Now I was all focused on this audition. So when I was interviewed by the social workers and they asked, about the situation at home, we didn't have words like narcissism back then. We didn't have words like scapegoated child. We had words like depression, but I wouldn't focus on none of that. I was just like, no, everything is great at home. Like, I just came for the audition. And believe it or not, they still let me go and audition. I still get to go audition. So you'd imagine that, okay, fine, like I wake up in the morning, this one guy drops me off at, it was this mall, and I remember it was just packed with all of these teenagers from all over Durban, and I remember thinking, you have to remember, I'm this kid from this buttfuck town in the middle of the boonies with all of these like sophisticated city kids. I was just like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. Like, I want to like be a part of this. This is where I belong. Now, obviously, I was still under a lot of stress. So much had happened. Just to get to the audition. I get my lines, I study them, and the cameras go on, and I'm like, I started twitching. I was so awkward. I fumble the audition like it has never been fumbled before. And even though the audition still went bad, I refused to believe that it meant that I wasn't selected. I was like, they're still gonna pick me. I get back to the place of safety, and then we organize for me to go back to King Williamstown because the results were only going to be announced. Like, I think it was like 2 weeks later or something, and there was no real reason for me to hang around Durban. So I went back home, and I didn't get into trouble. Like, it was like I came back from the shops, you know. Um, and it was, you know, like I often reflect and think back to my childhood and being a teen. The one benefit of having like a mom who was neglectful, like, because I'll be honest, especially when I was younger, we were pretty much raised by the maids. Some of them were awesome, others were not people you want your kids to be around. Um, but because there was so much neglect, I could get away with so much. I could I could do so much, and there would almost always never be consequences. You know what I mean? And even though it gave me a lot of freedom, I so desperately longed for a structure. I so desperately longed for someone to, I don't know, like notice me and notice what was going on and how depressed I was. I mean, this was during the time I was self-mutilating and, you know, making cuts and scratches all over my arm like I was a turkey on Thanksgiving. This was during that time, and no one ever checked in on me. And as much as it gave me freedom to, as we say as South Africans, catch on shit, it made me feel so alone in the world. And surprisingly, um, later on, I ended up joining the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I ended up becoming a Mormon. And that was like a whole nother thing. And yeah, but anyways, so that was my crazy story of running away to another city at 15 to go audition. I just wanted to send a quick shout out to all of my subscribers. I love you guys. I've read, you know, your comments, and y'all stay so sweet. Thank you so much for just being here, listening to me, and just giving me a space where I can just talk and air out my feelings, you know. Love you so much. Check you in the next one. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Bye.